Hi, this is Matt. Once again, welcome back to another video. This is a paid request, this time from Brian. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, reviews, re-reviews, commentaries, could be reaction, a topic, news article, randomness, out of the blueness, re-review. I already said that. Commentary, I already said that. Pretty much anything, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box under the video. And as you can tell, this is a commentary for Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. So I have a pause at the beginning. I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1, pressing play. 20th Century Fox logo, that's just for syncing for anyone who wants to follow along. You'll never see that logo again. Lucasfilm Ltd, Lucasfilm Limited, and we fade out now, and then we have long time ago in Galaxy Far Away, and Star Wars will be blasted now. Attack of the Clones, my least favorite of the prequel trilogy. I think I did see each of these films when they came out in theaters because they were definitely big events. I mean, some people may forget or not know just how huge these prequels were in their time. The buzz. I mean, they got critical reviews that were positive. You go on Rotten Tomatoes, that's why each one is a fresh rating. And there were a lot of people who actually really enjoyed these movies back then. And then there was a certain wave where they were deemed the worst movies ever, and now I think they got a little bit more appreciation because of the Disney Star Wars films, and I've really never been a fan of this one, but I will still watch it over the Disney Star Wars because at the very least this film does not try to destroy, hurt, and humiliate A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. It at least did that, at least was its own animal. At least it was trying to be its own 2 feet standing there. It's just, I do think it's a heavily flawed film. But I mean, there were definitely, the budget was on the screen. I do think these spaceship shots, they may not be model work, but I do think they're good CGI. Like, there's some bad, iffy CGI that doesn't hold up, like when you get into the whole canyon pit thing. But the stuff in space and other stuff, I do think it's rather good. And this was 2002, so like this stuff I'm seeing here holds up better than like when you see the Mummy in the Mummy 1999 and Imhotep is that not quite skeleton. And I love the Mummy from '99, but you know those effects don't hold up the best. But you know for their time, they worked. And at least this was trying to show new worlds, new tech, new places. This is where you did an assassination attempt, although it's a fake one. So it's not the actual Padme, it's a different one. I mean, at the end of the day, the prequels, you could easily argue that, were they stories worth telling? Do we need to be told how Darth Vader came to be? Not really. But, you know, at least there's some superficial things to enjoy, like Ewan McGregor. I think he did a good job as Obi-Wan. And there's the actual Padme, Natalie Portman. And the thing is that if you watch these films on their own, Natalie Portman doesn't seem like the best actress, but then if you watch other stuff with her, you're like, no, she's actually a rather good actress. It's just George Lucas, I don't think is the best guy to direct actors, and he's not the best script writer. I think it's one of the various reasons why, like the first 6 Star Trek films, I actually prefer over Star Wars. Although I do like the original Star Wars films, I have the VHS of the original versions right there. But again, if you're asking me, I would say I prefer the first 6 Star Trek films. Well, I like 5, but I wouldn't put that over A New Hope and stuff. But I mean, what I'm saying is that, like, if you're saying Star Trek versus Star Wars, I would say, okay, if someone told me, do you want to watch the 6 Star Wars of the original and prequels, or do you want to watch the first 6, those Star Wars, or do you want to watch the first 6 Star Trek movies with William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, I would pick Star Trek. But, because I like those characters more, that acting more. But, I do like Han Solo and Luke Skywalker. But I'm just saying, I do think the acting and writing of those characters in Star Trek is a bit better. That's just my opinion. But, because, yeah, Samuel L. Jackson and his bid to be in every other film ever made. Part of me is that he wants to be the #1 box office guy over Harrison Ford. I don't know who that is now, like the actor that has the biggest, most successful hits. Could be Sam Jackson. I don't know. Well, it probably is Harrison Ford because he was in, the Force Awakens and stuff. But I remember when this film came out in 2002. I had seen the Phantom Menace in the theater, and it was there. I mean, actually, no, I disagree. When I first saw the Phantom Menace, and speaking of Phantom Menace, it was Jar Jar Binks, and then you also have Jimmy Smits. Jimmy Smits was a Bail Organa, who of course his planet would get blown up in A New Hope. Look at the Yoda with that stink eye. Which, it's like, Yoda, you should know what was going on. I mean, you're the big Jedi, you didn't feel this motherfucker was a bad guy? You did your job wrong, you fucked up, Yoda. But it's funny, you got Jar Jar Binks in there. Very, very hated with the Phantom Menace. I have a feeling George Lucas, his original idea was to utilize Jar Jar Binks a lot more. But I guess a lot of people kind of saw the writing on the wall and said, George, you gotta lose the guy. Because I guarantee you Jar Jar Binks was supposed to be much more prevalent in this one and the next one. But they do make Jar Jar Binks, in a way, kind of his fault, because he helps change the tide of the Senate inadvertently for the Emperor. That's why, some people get, my favorite theory, like people have these Star Wars theories, my favorite theory is that Jar Jar Binks here was the ultimate bad guy. He was the master manipulator. Yes, I know that's not true, but that's why I say I love the I just love that theory. That he pretend to be this stupid, idiot, moron, dumbass, this goofy guy, and he pretended to be this because no one would suspect the goofy guy. No one would expect that at all. And then I'm going all over the place. It's always weird that, Anakin was a little boy and Natalie Portman looked the same. But now you have Anakin Skywalker 10 years older looking like this. It's just insane where, number one, it's been 10 years. I guess that's the thing. It's been 10 years since Phantom Menace, and it seems like, this war is still happening. And God, I got so many things in my head. I don't know where to pinpoint first. ...2002, this came out, and I know, again, there were a lot of people that liked it. There were people coming out saying, oh man, it was even better than Phantom Menace, and oh my god, they're getting it right here. And then that kind of changed fairly quickly in a few years afterward. I think after Revenge of the Sith came out, and like a couple years after that, like, man, I don't know about that. And the actor who voiced Jar Jar Binks, I mean, he didn't deserve all that hate, all that complaint. I mean, and I'll be honest, when I first saw The Phantom Menace, I didn't hate Jar Jar Binks when I first saw him. I'm like, okay, he's goofy, it's silly, whatever, and he was meant for kids to enjoy and have fun with, and there probably were some kids who did enjoy the character. I think what George misinterpreted was that, honestly, more people to see The Phantom Menace was going to be adults than kids. I think that's what he kind of misjudged. And he must have thought of it that way because he wants to keep saying it's a kid's film, but... Yeah, you want to keep saying it's a kid's film, but the first fucking film is dealing with taxes. And tariffs and trades and Senate meetings and political upheaval. That's not something kids really give a shit about. So again, Freddie Prinze Jr., he did some rant about, because he voiced the character in one of the Star Wars cartoons. All these fucking people, they don't understand that Star Wars is just for kids, and they hate these new Disney Star Wars movies. Like, Freddie Prinze Jr., shut the fuck up. You're Fred and Scooby-Doo. Okay? If anyone gave a shit about that film, it was because of Matthew Lillard and a CGI dog, not because of you. Freddie Prinze Jr., shut the fuck up. Sorry, Mr. Star, Wing Commander. It was some, like, radio interview. It's on YouTube. He just sounded like a fucking doofus. But it's like, oh, well, this is meant for just for kids. I'm like, that's bullshit. By the time you get to the third one of these, you have your main character, granted off-screen, killing children. Or as they call younglings. And the people that were looking forward to this were the ones that saw Star Wars as kids on VHS on 1985 or 1989 or 1992. Let alone an older audience who saw these in the originals in theaters. And I would maintain that The Phantom Menace is the best of the prequels. And people don't get mad at me for that because they would say Revenge of the Sith. The reason I say Phantom Menace is a lot of superficial reasons. I think it has the best music with Duel of the Fates. I think The Phantom Menace has that. I think aesthetically, it's definitely the film of the three that has the most practical in terms of model work and on-location shooting, and it probably has the least green screen of the three prequels. As I think the best lightsaber fight with Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul. I think it has the best villain. I know people are like, oh, you can't say that because he's very one-dimensional, if that, because he doesn't talk, and there's not much character. But to me, it does showcase something that Darth Maul became a memorable figure with so little to work with. I think just because of his less is more quality, the look, intimidating look, it's a cool image that sticks with people, the double lightsaber, his excellent skills in martial arts, thanks to Ray Park, who played Snake Eyes in G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra and Retaliation, is a martial artist. again, less is more approach, I think rather worked for Darth Maul, and I do think, in retrospect, it would have been cool if he was the main villain in these three movies. I mean, you have Darth Maul. If you need a sacrificial lamb, it could be someone else that's with Darth Maul, but if you build up Darth Maul, and instead of Christopher Lee's a good actor, but to have that sort of figure throughout all three of them, I think that would have been even better to build up to. Here we have Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan in this sequence. But granted, I can appreciate that, there's a different visage, different aesthetic for a Star Wars movie. I mean, there's not really any other Star Wars film where you're in this heavily populated area that looks more like Fifth Element and Blade Runner than Star Wars, but that makes it at least a bit unique. And I might not be a big fan of the film, but I don't think this would be like a raging rant. This is one of the worst movies ever. No. I do think the film goes on a bit too long. It's like 2 hours and 20 some minutes. I do think, this opening is decently fast paced, but it's when it gets to the love story aspect, that's when it slows down, and I think that's when the movie really drags. But I think like the first 30 minutes, 40 minutes is probably, and then the stuff with Ewan McGregor, his journey, I think is the best part of the movie, where he's dealing with Jango Fett, and he's with these interesting looking creatures, where it's this very clean white rooms and the clone army. And again, it's just when they tackle this love story aspect is when the movie really drags, and I think makes it the weakest of the three. And that's because, number one, I'm sorry, Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman, they have no chemistry with each other. The dialogue is really bland, and I don't like sun. And Hayden Christensen, he was a terrible choice. I'm sorry. Maybe in specific usages, Hayden Christensen can work, but in particular here, he does not. I found him very wooden. I found him very boring. I found him very dry. At times whiny. I just did not like the Anakin Skywalker character, and he's your lead character. You don't give a shit. I'm sorry, I don't give a shit about him. Speak for myself. I don't care about him. I don't care about his plight. Because it's a prequel, you know where it's going, and that's one of the reasons why I'm not the biggest with prequels. I mean, hell, my favorite prequel technically is Missing in Action to the Beginning, and that's because, well, there's various reasons why, but that wasn't even intended to be a prequel. That was supposed to be the first film, but then they thought it wasn't as good as the sequel, and then they released the sequel, Missing in Action 1. It would become that. They released the sequel first. And that was Braddock going back to rescue POWs. And then, okay, we don't think this film is as good, so we'll release it later, and we'll just call Missing in Action to the Beginning. But I do like that film quite a bit. And yeah, there are other prequels I don't mind, but they're not my favorite story type because it's, you know where it's going. Like, no matter what, you know what happens to Obi-Wan Kenobi. You know he's going to be on a desert planet by himself, meet Luke Skywalker, let himself get killed to be one with the Force. You know that Anakin is going to be the biggest bad guy in the galaxy. Of course, the whole question is how. Granted, I didn't give a shit how. I don't think it mattered that importantly how. But that's the thing, is that that's one of the reasons, like, you had that Dark Crystal Age of Resistance Netflix show with John Lindsay, thankfully to him, if he's watching, thank you for that, has sent in requests for me to review each episode. I talk about how I don't mind the aesthetic and the look of it, but as a story, it's just, you know where it's going, so it doesn't have as much impact because you already know the destination, right? And you're supposed to enjoy the journey, but there's other reasons. Like, I think the story's padded because Netflix has to have every fucking show be 10 episodes. When I'm like, you know what, this would work just as a movie more than a show, but. Like, this chase scene, granted, it's heavily CGI. I don't know how you would do it practical, so that's why I kind of will give ease with it. But the Jedi seems like they can do anything. They can fall as far as they can and be fine. Then it makes you go, well, what's the limit to a Jedi's powers? And of course, then it makes you go, well, why couldn't anybody do this in the original Star Wars? It's because, well, you had an old guy like Alec Guinness, and then you had Mark Hamill, who was just learning this stuff. And then by the time he's finally knowledgeable, Return of the Jedi, that's coming out in 1983, and action scenes were not like they were in 2002. In terms of choreography, in terms of there were limitations, things of that nature. Although Return of the Jedi does have my favorite lightsaber scene emotionally between Luke and Darth Vader. That's why that's my favorite, because the emotion, the music, the lighting, the darkness, and the kind of all you see is the lightsabers and the choir music. I think that's my favorite lightsaber fight because of that emotion to it. But if you ask on a technical standpoint, the best lightsaber, it's the end of the Phantom Menace. But yeah, I still maintain the Phantom Menace is the best of the prequels because the Phantom Menace is its own story in a way where it does have an ending. Like, you can watch the end of that and there's, oh, this is how Anakin and Obi-Wan meet, blah blah blah, and there's no to be continued stature to it. Like I said, the visuals are more practical compared to this and the next one. I like Liam Neeson. There might not be a lot of development on Qui-Gon Jinn, but it's just, I like Liam Neeson. I like Ewan McGregor. And it's more their film also. Like, this is more, it's Obi-Wan and Hayden, and Liam Neeson is just better than Hayden Christensen. So it's like, do you want more Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor, or do you want more Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor? And Ewan McGregor is the best part of these movies. I think he really did a valid effort to portray Alec Guinness type of performance, but at the same time being his own. And just Ewan McGregor fit this role perfectly. And there's a part of me that wished that it did have to deal with being a prequel, so it could be more free with the story. To be able to see Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan go on a variety of adventures without worrying about the future. It's like, I wish like Ewan McGregor was in this environment as this type of character. Like, in a weird way, I almost wish he wasn't Obi-Wan, that he was just another character. So then his, you don't want to sell me death sticks. You want to go home and rethink your life. And I know there's going to be like an Obi-Wan TV show, which I don't know about that. I don't look forward to it. Why? Because what can you do with a TV show of Obi-Wan Kenobi? Again, you know where it's going. You don't have to have limitations unless you completely break the plot. Like, Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars A New Hope hasn't seen Darth Vader, who he knows is Anakin, for a long, long time. Because Darth Vader says, I haven't felt this presence in a long time. Ever since... And when he means a long time, that means like 10 years, 20 years, not 2 years or 2 days. So, unless they want to break that fucking story, and it's like, people don't know who Obi-Wan is. He's in hiding. That's the point. Is that he's this old hermit that no one knows where he lives, no one knows what he's doing. But if he's going out there saying, look at me, it's like, well, wait a minute, that doesn't really track. So, this Jingle Fett, who is the basis for the Clone War, and thus you have another clone who's Boba Fett, which I know he has his TV show, which I don't care to watch his TV show. I did like The Mandalorian. I did like season 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian, but I wish I could find that to own, but they don't sell it. I did like Mandalorian season 1 and 2, but it is what it is. I don't have a Blu-ray thing to burn Blu-rays, otherwise I would just do that. In the last episode I would burn, there's like someone did like a fan edit of the last episode where they fixed up Luke Skywalker's face. I would put that into the thing, but anyway. And again, like, each of these films I remember seeing in the theater, like the Phantom Menace was such a huge event, and you could argue that was the most hyped film in movie history. You can make that argument easily that the Phantom Menace was the most hyped film ever, because you're finally getting a sequel to the Star Wars trilogy ever since 1983. So this is about 16 years later, and funny enough, that same year, like 3 months prior, or less than that actually, maybe a month prior, you had The Matrix. And that's where you see The Matrix. I think that's also with me, I liked The Phantom Menace, but I was drawn more to The Matrix. It's like, oh yeah, I like The Phantom Menace, what I saw in theaters. But then I kept thinking of The Matrix, like, oh, but that Matrix movie. But of course it made sense because I'm more of a R-rated Commando, Predator, Aliens, Rambo, that type of guy. Hard Target. That's more my kind of movie. Like in this scene, like you could tell they're not on a set. This is all completely green screen. It's all completely, fake backgrounds. And again, at least in the Phantom Menace, most of the time it was them on an actual set. But it was George Lucas trying to push technology. That's why like every single scene is like on a green screen. Almost every single scene has some type of CGI effect. But it was ambitious. And like I was saying before, one of my favorite theories is that Jar Jar Binks is like a Darth. He's like the ultimate bad guy. Like he manipulated all this stuff. What was the phrase? The greatest trick the devil played was making people think he doesn't exist. I almost wish someone would do like a fan movie on evil Darth Jar Jar. I do. Like they go through all the events and how he manipulated things, and then if that was done, I would actually be like, this is the best fucking, this is the most genius idea ever. You may seem silly or stupid, but at the same time, the most genius idea ever. I kind of wish Darth Jar Jar was a real thing now. Like he stops talking like that, and he starts talking. Because oh wow, it's fucking Kaiser Soze. That's what it would be. It'd be fucking Kaiser Soze. Jar Jar Binks did a Kaiser Soze. He was gone. Misa think you're gonna die, motherfucker. No, he wouldn't say motherfucker, but I don't know. And that's when you get scenes like this. This is when the film just It's not fair. He doesn't understand. Just Anakin just sounded like a bitch. Again, it is strange that again Natalie Portman looks the same as she did the Phantom Menace, because that was '99 and this is 2002. But then again, just also it's a bit creepy that they met when he was what, 6, 7. It's like the last time I saw you, you were like a little kid who didn't even have pubes, and now you want me bent over through the fucking teaster? Kind of fucking weird, don't you think? And just Hayden Christensen, I mean, maybe it would work if it was a different actor. Maybe. I know one of the people who were up for it was Jonathan Brandis. Jonathan Brandis was on a TV show called Sequest. He was on... what's another one he was on? Stephen King's It, the 1990 movie. He was in a Chuck Norris film called Sidekicks. And Sally did not get this, and some people speculate that's one of the reasons why he... Not the only, but one of the reasons why he ended his life. Was because there was depression and all that, and then his career wasn't going the way he wanted, and he didn't get the job for this, and other stuff too. There were other factors, and it's very sad. I guarantee you they probably looked at Leonardo DiCaprio and all the other whoever was around at this time, similar age. Just like Titanic was 97, so that was only, a few years before this. Well, I guess 5 years. But then also, like, when did they start shooting this? Because these films take a while to shoot and edit. Like, it came out 2002, but they might have started shooting in 2001. For all I know, they probably started shooting stuff in 2000. For all I know. Sorry about that. My stomach rumbling. I haven't eaten yet. I'll do it after this, so sorry for that. He's having a conversation without my permission. Here we get this Dex character. And that's what I mean, like, when it's this with Obi-Wan Kenobi, this story, I think, actually isn't too bad. It's kind of interesting to see this futuristic diner with this android, this robot waitress, and this character who is obviously very friendly with Obi-Wan. And it makes you go, well, how the hell did these two know each other? How the hell did these two meet? Like, how did this all happen? And this voice sounds familiar. I'm trying to remember who exactly it is voicing this character. Camino. That's the alien something of the Camino. So pretty much Dex, who's this greasy-looking cook. But again, I will say that's kind of one of the appeals of the prequels, is at least, again, they were trying to build a different world. The showcase that there was more to the world than just a sand planet and a winter planet. And yeah, I know, that's one of the issues you could say about The Mandalorian. But The Mandalorian, I thought, at least that's after Return of the Jedi, it's in that realm. It made sense to me that those are the similar environments. But again, to see how it's been many years before, so you get to see all these unique, different environments that you could let creative juices flow. And that's why I said, even this film I would put above the Disney Star Wars movies. But the Disney Star Wars films takes place decades after Return of the Jedi, but still seems like nothing changed. Not in environments, not in characters, nothing. It just took a big old dump on those original three films. That's what Disney Star Wars did. Force Awakens, fuck that movie. Last Jedi, fuck that movie. Rise of Skywalker, fuck that movie. I would rather watch this. And you know, if I reviewed this at the end, I don't even know if it would be a rant. I'd be like, I'm not really big in it, but you know what? I'll tolerate it. And I'm like having a better time watching this than if it was The Last Jedi or The Force Awakens and stuff. And sometimes that's what happens when you have movies that you just deem so much worse. And like, you know what? I'd rather stick with this. Because even visually, like I see this robot at this buffet serving. Okay, that was an interesting design. That someone put their creativity into designing that. But again, it's like I don't give a shit about this love story. That's the weakest part of this film. And that's supposed to be the big kernel core of it, because it will lead to them getting together, the birth of Luke, the birth of Leia. And when that doesn't work, the whole thing falls apart. If somehow he made this love story work and powerful and palpable, capable, then perhaps it could have. But that's another thing. When you look at like this film doesn't really have a... I would not say it doesn't really have a villain. It's not really a villain you really get to see, except... well, I guess Christopher Lee. Later on. All these kids are going to die. It's true, all these kids are going to die. In the next movie, you're all going to be dead. Y'all fucked. I will say, like, throughout the years, I think, and I'll be honest, one of the things on the internet that led to a lot of the prequel hate was Red Letter Media. I'm not saying they're the only ones, but Red Letter Media, and I will admit, they were entertaining videos, the Plinkett videos, where they went into each one of these and they broke it down, and but then when I first reviewed them, I first reviewed these films years and years and years and years ago, and you know what? I wasn't happy with them, and I deleted them because it was me just reiterating what Red Letter Media said, and I don't like doing that. And I have my own voice. I am who I am, so I deleted them because I wasn't happy with them. And then when I actually sit down and think for myself, I go, you know what? I actually like the Phantom Menace despite its flaws. Revenge of the Sith is decent despite its flaws. This one, it has some positives like Ewan McGregor and other stuff, but it's at least trying to expand the Star Wars universe. Like I said, if you stick with the Ewan McGregor plot, it's actually not too shabby of a movie. You have a planet that's been erased, but then it seems like there's something there, so someone must have manipulated the information. So that means it's someone within your grasp. Only a Jedi could have erased those files. Or the bad guy. Which no one could figure out it was... because there's no way they can, because the Emperor comes back and Empire and Return of the Jedi, so it's not like the Emperor could be found and killed and captured. No. That's why it has to lead to the fall of the Republic. I was saying, it's like you know where this is going, so it kind of loses any amount of suspense to me or tension. It becomes obviously predictable on its nature. But again, each time it cuts to this, it's like a groan, like, oh man. Like, honestly, I would be curious in an edit of this film if you took out all of these scenes between these two. Like, if you did an edit of this film where all the stuff they were doing was off camera, and you just stuck with Ewan McGregor and his journey and his investigation into what's going on, I honestly think it would be a better movie. Now, there might be some gaps in plot, but I do think it would be a better movie. I really do. So again, they have this whole thing where they make this person believe she's the queen to protect the actual queen. But again, Anakin is just like a fucking brat. Like 2 courts shy of an edgelord. It just that's what I mean. Like again, if you just edit all this stuff out and like cut to all the Ewan McGregor scenes, I think it would be a better movie. Like if you went from him finding that info, cut to the spaceship. I mean, yeah, this is a pretty halfway decent, little not mystery, but little investigation movie with this sci-fi palette. Which you don't find a lot of those, like, investigation film. I guess closer would be Blade Runner, to be fair, but that, yeah, it would be Blade Runner, that film noir, investigative nature, but you just have this colorful background because it's like, well, we gotta have spaceships exploding, we gotta have all this other big, high, big budget extravaganza. But I do like these creatures, the Caminos. I just think it's a very, very cool, distinct design. I just think it's a very neat design, and just their environment is just how it's just distinct compared to the other environments in this world, galaxy, whatever it may be. The way they talk, the way they move, again, the look, the aesthetic, just very distinct and unique. If I just say those terms one more time. So yeah, I do like these Camino creatures. And yeah, I mean, you could break down the plot, but I mean, let's be honest, you could do that for every fucking film if you put as much effort into it as possible. You could do that and break down every fucking film and be ridiculous. Even the classics. It's just, if you don't enjoy it on a primal source, then that will expand into what people call nitpicky, what people call force yourself to dislike it. No, it's like you didn't like it for a primary reason, and that's where most people watch a movie. I hate to be a bearer of bad news. Most people in the mainstream, in the public, whatever, watch a movie for the primary reasons of either getting excited, scared, to laugh, to cry, to feel, to think in wonderment, some kind of emotional response. Even if you're thinking logically, you're still getting an emotional response because your mind is being challenged, or because it still comes to that primary function. And if it doesn't follow any of those, they're like, well, fuck this. And then, you start noticing nitpicks or flaws or things you disagree with or all the above. And, it's like people don't realize that's what it is at the end of the day. That's why movies are completely subjective. That's why every single person will have a different top 50 favorite. Like, if I ask someone your top 20 favorite films of the 80s, you don't need a different list each time. There may be some that are similar on the list. I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating. It gets everywhere. You don't talk like that, but you might as well. Not like here. Everything is soft. Like your butt cheeks? It's smooth. I get like your butt cheeks? Why don't you just bend over? No, get on your knees and just bury yourself into the uncanny valley, Anakin, and be the ultimate brown noser. Why don't you just do that? Get on your knees, spread the cheeks, and dive in. Brown nose it all the way up to the Hershey Highway. Just do it, as Nighty would say. Just do it. And see, I don't buy their chemistry. I don't buy why this came to be. I just don't buy it. Again, the chemistry I think is lacking. Hayden Christensen is just... He's like... Even that, like... Dude, man. He's not natural. That's the thing. There's nothing natural about Hayden Christensen's performance. There's nothing natural about it. I think that's one of the primary malfunctions with that performance. I'm sorry. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I think he's easily the weakest actor in the movie. And he's supposed to be the star of the film. And again, you could say it's a lot of the dialogue, but at the same time, Harrison Ford made the dialogue work in A New Hope. Ewan McGregor is making it work in this movie. Natalie Portman is not as good as compared to other films she's in, but she's still doing better than fucking Hayden. And here's the clone army. Which I don't know if you needed to make Boba Fett a clone. That seemed like... I don't know. Obviously, they will become the stormtroopers. This clone army. They will become stormtroopers. Now, I don't know if you need... I mean... Obviously, it was referenced in the original film. You fought with my father in the Clone Wars. And then people go, what the hell are the Clone Wars? I guess when that's referenced, who else would the clones be? Well, there you have those... But it's weird, because you look at the stormtroopers, they're like different height. So that's the thing, is like they obviously didn't think that through. And that wasn't the initial conception, of course, despite what George Lucas wants to say. I'm like, well, dude... if you're a clone, that means you have the same height and same width, but you have stormtroopers that are shorter, that are taller. Stormtrooper here, then you have the one stormtrooper that bumped his head. What was it, A New Hope? Where you look at the background, the stormtrooper hastily bumps his head. Why do they never fire correctly? If they're so good. And we were in this field, which is funny enough, probably one of the only practical locations in the film. And again, just Hayden Christensen. Hayden Christensen is like me if I would try to act in a play. That's what it reminds me of, is that there was one time I tried to act, it was way back in the day, for a play, back in 1998. It was around 98, because I know that was around the time when Godzilla came out in theaters. Just got to see that in theaters, really enjoyed it, still like it. And it was like a play of Hansel and Gretel and being the dad. And my performance was so great, people said, I liked your beard. Because they had like a beard put on me. Well, that's your crazy. That's like, yeah, I'm not an actor, but at least I know. I'm like, if I ever try, like, that's like, I'm not an actor that could just recite lines. It would be me wanting to improvise and try to be natural, because a man's got to know his limitations. But at least I know limitations. But a lot of people don't, and then you know, he acts as good here as I did in that fucking thing. Because you're being directed, you have to talk like this, and you have to pick this up at this one point, and you have to go to the audience to do this. That's what Hayden Christensen feels like. Is like specifically, you have to do this, and then you have to look around over here, and you have to do this, and then you have to do this. And that's when it's like, okay, you have these lines of dialogue, you have to try to make them feel natural to yourself. Again, it's one of those, oh god, we're in this love story. Oh, cool, it goes back to this. It's rainy, it's storming, and these, again, nice designs on the communal creatures, and learning more about this clone army. So there's Boba Fett. You know what? I am shocked that there was no reference to Han Solo, like his father or grandfather or whoever, in these movies. You would think that there would be a point where there would be like a young Han Solo. Like you have this young Boba Fett, and you know, I'm trying to remember exactly how many years it is between this and A New Hope. Because Luke hasn't even been born yet. So probably Han Solo hasn't been born yet, to be honest. But like, I mean, like his dad. My name is Solo, Steve Solo. Or even when we get to Revenge of the Sith, like Revenge of the Sith, if it's like, oh, here's a baby, his name is Han Solo. I'm surprised they never did that. I'm surprised. And of course, this actor would also be Boba Fett, because it's a clone, in this new Boba Fett TV show. And like I said, I don't really care. Because again, I find it strange, like Boba Fett was a villain, but then now he's not really a villain, but he's not really a villain. I'm like, you know what? I, if you're not going to make up your mind, why should I try to make up my mind? Like, you want to be, you're a villain, but you're not a villain. Like, you tried to kill Luke Skywalker, and like, this is the guy that caught Han Solo and helped get him in frozen. This is a guy that tried to kill Luke, but yet now he's not quite a good guy, and he's got these morals and code. I'm like, where did this come from? It's like they know Boba Fett's popular, so they don't want to just make him a villain, and then the success of The Mandalorian. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just gonna see if I can look something up. Nah, probably not. But it's one of those things where I think the actor's name is Tamira Morrison. Tamira Morrison. I think he does big break. He was in this film called Once Were Warriors. And then he would appear in a couple other movies. But now he's back on this Boba Fett TV show. That I haven't heard anyone say positive stuff about it, to be honest. So it seemed like a lot of people like, this is pretty lame, or this is pretty shitty, or it's pretty this and that. Like, I haven't heard a lot of good things about it, to be honest. I'm like, wow, what a big surprise. Why am I not surprised? I mean, it's like, I don't know if George Lucas thought he was trying to be Shakespeare with this, or what the hell, but just, again, I can't really say it was, I was huge in it. Sorry, no. Oh, okay. Alright. Sorry, I have to answer this text. This kind of thing about this, that real life gets in the way, so I apologize, but I am still following the movie. So, just how it is. Yeah, you know what I feel? I feel a headache coming on with your dialogue. That's what I feel. You know what? Keep your feelings to yourself, or stick your feelings up your ass, or do something else entirely, man. Because no one cares. Well, you want it to be that way. Yeah, so says you. It does have to be that way, because you suck! You suck! You suck that thing called dick. Yeah, we get into the little skirmish between Obi-Wan and Jango Fett, which is, I remember being a pretty decent fight scene. Let's see. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, but alright. Dang, sorry about that. Only Dark Lord of the Sith, yeah, and you guys don't know what the hell's going on, so you guys definitely screwed the pooch on that one. Great. Anakin's having an orgasm. Do we need to see Hayden Christensen like this, do we? Sorry again. This fucking love story shit, man. That's why, again, in retrospect, this has become like the weakest of this trilogy that like no one really talks about. Well, I should say no one talks about, but I don't know if a lot of people really like. I don't know if anyone says Attack of the Clones is their favorite of the three. Maybe there are, but it doesn't seem like that's the usual case. Either they don't like any of them, or they like Revenge of the Sith the most. I mean, for me, if I had to pick, it'd be Phantom Menace. But they're not films I rewatch a lot either. Like I said, growing up, the type of films I would watch would be Predator, Bloodsport, Aliens. Aliens. Right there. Like, that's more my type of sci-fi movie. Aliens. I liked Star Wars, but I was never, like, huge into Star Wars. I didn't buy the Star Wars toys. I didn't really buy a whole lot of the video games, except maybe Super Star Wars and Super Nintendo. Here we get the Obi-Wan Jingle fight. But it was kind of cool when you did watch these prequels. Again, one of the positive is to see Obi-Wan kick some ass. I mean, whether fighting Darth Maul and the Phantom Menace, whether in all the droids, whether it be this battle here with Jango Fett. Granted, this explosion stuff is a little bit clunky because you don't want to hurt the actor. And, like, of course, the rain and the water hitting them is real, but a lot of this stuff is green screen. But it's interesting, like, Obi-Wan using his wits. Like, here, stopping Jango Fett. Like, even that kit, I mean, the kit looks a bit goofy because it's all CGI enhanced. It's not like an actual martial artist. See, that's the thing. If you do have, like, a Donnie Yen, who, funny enough, was in a Star Wars movie, or you have, like, a Jackie Chan or a John Van Damme or a Derry Daniels, anyone doing an actual kick, it's not going to be, as clunky looking as that. It's just, oh, cool, Obi-Wan kicked someone, but then it looks a bit funky because of... And I don't know how the hell this works. Like, you're able to throw it right there, and it's okay. Of course, if you're like Leia, you could have just been flying, like Mary Poppins. It's like, why didn't you fly? Oh, there you go. Follow that shit. And with the stomach, will you shut up? Don't have to wait. God damn. Yeah, my stomach is trying to review this film negatively. My stomach's like, do I have to watch this? Calm down, man. At least it's not The Last Jedi or Return to Sky. I was going to say Return to Skywalker. Rise of Rise of Skywalker, whatever the fuck the name was. If I was watching that, I have a brain aneurysm. But that's the thing, when you have all this stuff here, is just drags. And now we got Watto from Phantom Menace. And that's another thing. I know a lot of people said these films were racist. It's like they didn't know, like, George Lucas, isn't his wife black? Like, isn't George Lucas married to a black lady? And it's like, so you're saying aliens can only be voiced by white people? I just like, oh, well, we can't have this person voice this because they'll be deemed racist. It's like, well, maybe that's you assuming things and looking into stuff more than the filmmakers did. Maybe that's with your own prejudice or your own fucking bullshit going on in your own head. Like a lot of cancel culture shit. Also, I don't understand how it took this long for him to come back for his mom. Like, why would it take this long to go back to your mom? Like, how is it that this is a queen, right? This is a queen. You think about this. In the Phantom Menace, you as a little boy helped save lives. The queen's like, you know what? This kid did a good job. Your mom's a slave, and I was there to see it. I got money. I'm gonna go back. If he was able to sell the mom, why didn't Padme just buy the mom? She could afford it with all her fucking fancy dresses. Why didn't she go and just buy the mom? Hey kid, you helped save us. Let me go buy your mom. It's not like they didn't know where she was at. It's not like they didn't know where. It's not like she couldn't afford it. So again, it's just, that doesn't make any sense to me. Why would Queen Amidala, Padme, not just go out and buy her for this kid that helped save your shit in the Phantom Menace as a reward? You know what? Fuck the medal. Fuck the celebration. How about you go back and buy the mom? If someone can explain it to me, let me know. Because I don't even think they thought of that. I'd be surprised if they did, but I don't think they did. But see, like, all the action is centered on Obi-Wan Kenobi. Well, I can't say all the action. There's a bit with Anakin Skywalker, but still, you had Obi-Wan hanging on and going through that, and then Anakin flying. You had Obi-Wan almost getting shot in the back and fucking up the person. Now Obi-Wan versus Jango Fett. And, you know, they have this sequence here, but it's, you know, not nearly as effective as, you know, the Empire Strikes Back in that asteroid field with the Millennium Falcon. And also, you know, John Williams' music, granted, I would still say still better than the music in the new Disney Star Wars, but I still think Duel of the Fates is the best piece of music in this prequel trilogy. But I remember, you know, back then people really enjoyed it. I mean, you know, I listened to a guy named Jim Cornette, and, you know, his co-host was talking about this old post that Chris Jericho had. Because Chris Jericho is a wrestler who he did this match in 2002 or so and went right home to look at the reviews, and some people were critical. And then Chris Jericho blew a fuse going, "This is the best that I had. Okay, you marks, you smarts, you if this is, you know, don't ever watch anything I do again," and blah blah blah. It's like, there are people that say Attack of the Clones sucked, and that's not the case, and Attack of the Clones was fantastic, and it's like, well, Attack of the Clones wasn't. You made it seem like it was a cinematic masterpiece, Chris Jericho. It wasn't, and your matches have not been, especially lately, where you're looking more and more like Steven Seagal. Even my stomach moaned. My stomach went, Don't worry, don't worry. Relax. Relax, God. God. My stomach is having a conversation with me. I guess, it's like, my stomach's like, you need someone to talk to during this. Like, no, I don't. I can talk to myself fine. I don't need your conversation with you. There you go. It's me and my stomach. The next buddy cop cliche comedy. Ride Along 3, starring me and my stomach. I'm Ice Cube, my stomach is Kevin Hart. It is just as annoying. Like, we're like halfway through the film. Like, fuck, man. There's like another hour and 10 minutes to the film. I think this is where Anakin's gonna find out his mom is dying, and then is gonna get pissed off, while Obi-Wan is doing more of this investigation with R4, not R2, R4. I guess I could talk about my history with Star Wars. Like, I remember seeing the 3 films on VHS back in the day, and liking them for what they are. They were never my favorite films ever, meaning I would say I watched more Star Trek than Star Wars. Like the first 6 Star Trek films with the original crew, especially like Star Trek 4 and Star Trek the Motion Picture, I got more out of. I always thought it was strange though when they tried to. They made it that C-3PO was made by Anakin Skywalker. I went, what? Oh, then they wipe his memory. So I'm like, wow, that's really convenient that, the droid that got his memory wiped and was built by Anakin happened to be the same. And this is his Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, who of course would raise Luke Skywalker. And that's Joe Edgerton right there as Uncle Owen. That is Joe Edgerton. Obviously not this guy, but the guy before. Like Joe Edgerton, he would be in a film called Warrior. He was in a few other stuff. He was in this interesting film called... what was it? So interesting, I forgot the name. The Gift. Interesting film called The Gift. And good actor. Interested to see him so young in this movie. Like, almost like before they were famous. So she went to this place and got married. And that the Tusken Raiders got her, and she's been gone a month. Dude, he doesn't even know who the fuck you are. He just met you 5 minutes ago, and apparently you're her husband. But it's like we gotta show the locations that's going to appear in the original Star Wars. But of course, the reason this is all being done is to showcase more of the darkness as to why he's pulled into the dark side of the Force, because there's the mother he couldn't save, and he feels obviously sad about that, a boy's love for his mother, and then that loss is painful. So the idea of losing Padme, he doesn't want to lose that again. He doesn't want to feel and go through that again. Thus, he makes a choice that if you join me, Padme will live. And then the ironic tragedy is, by doing that, actually does the opposite and condemns her to death. And now that he has nobody left, he's more succumbed to the dark side of the Force. And there you go. But it's just not as effective or powerful as the idea could be, but just the execution is not. I do think that's one of the primary weaknesses of the prequel trilogy, is that should be a powerful statement, and to me it's not, because of either clunky writing or ho-hum performances, even by Natalie Portman, but especially from Hayden Christensen. So again, the enjoyment to get out of this is the environments, the showcase more of this universe, or Ewan McGregor, or maybe some of the action scenes and superficial stuff. But again, that's not films that I rewatch a lot. It really isn't. Like I said, the films I grew up with would be like Aliens and Predator and John Carpenter's The Thing, George Romero's Dawn of the Dead, Jaws, and so forth. Again, that's just my 2 cents on it. Sorry, just charge up my phone. Just want to make sure. Alright. We have Christopher Lee here. Like, who is the Techno Union Army? I mean, that's an interesting design. And this whole thing is this manipulative nature by the Emperor to have an army be portrayed as the good guys. Look, we defeated what you guys couldn't do in 10 years, we're able to do going to Revenge of the Sith in a few years. But then turn the tide and, oh, guess what? The clone army, psych, wipe out all the Jedi, we take control. Nah, 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 that type of shit. Yeah, and pretty much just after he finds out that his mom is dead, when he goes ape shit and kills them all. Which, I mean, is a natural response. Hate to say it's a natural response. But still going to the dark side. Kind of made me wonder what they were doing with this mother character. Like, why did they have her around why do they keep her around? Why would you keep her around? I mean, I guess I could imagine what they would do. I don't want to think of that, but it does make me wonder what it was. Okay. Sorry, answering another text. Although, to be honest, again, with this kind of film, looking at my phone isn't as bad as, the idea what they were trying to do is just how successful it is. That's a different question, so to speak. Yep, and that's where he goes trying. Hey, he learned from Liam Neeson. There you go. He learned from Liam Neeson. You ever see Taken? Well, that came out after this, but it's retroactive learning. He learned what Liam Neeson would be in Taken, so let me take a bit of that into extrapolation. Now, it's funny, if you click on the subtitles there, it says that Qui-Gon Jinn's voice is going Anakin, Anakin, no. As in, Qui-Gon Jinn's spirit is sensing of Anakin doing this. I admit these Jedi did a shit job with Anakin. Like, he's in terrible pain. You know what you do? You come in and you talk to him and you converse with him. You go, yeah, let's talk about it. Nope, that never happened. Granted, there's other pressing matters, but at the same time, you had to take 10-15 minutes to do that, at least. And also, I never really get a sense of Anakin really liking Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, I get the sense of Obi-Wan caring for Anakin and worrying about Anakin. But the way Hayden Christensen plays the role, he always seems grumpy and annoyed by Obi-Wan. He just always seems annoyed by him. Like, he doesn't understand me. Oh, well, but it's just... Again, even in earlier, it just seemed like I got put up with this old guy, and I just never got a sense that Anakin gave a shit about Obi-Wan. They may try to say it verbally, but I think Ewan McGregor was able to showcase that. Hayden Christensen was not. It is, I'm just annoyed by this guy, and I just never got the sense that they were really good friends because of that. That they were the best of friends because of whether the way Hayden was written or the way he performed it, or both. Probably both, honestly. And I guess, you had to find a reason as to why Uncle Owen and Amber, like, why they came into possession of Luke Skywalker. And that's the thing, is that again, if you think about it, was a prequel really needed? Just not sure if it was that gun-ho to be needed for this stuff. And I understand, of course, being upset because of this. But again, I think you needed a better actor to convey this. And say it's a better actor, but he has to... I would be the most powerful Jedi ever. See, now again, he's talking shit about Obi-Wan. And again, it's like I never got a sense that they were friends, that they were good friends, and... And if I'm going to be honest, Hayden is trying. I mean, you even got a tear going down right there, naturally. And I do think Hayden is trying in this scene. I just never thought he was the best actor out there. I mean, whether it be in Jumper, that teleportation movie he did, or... Again, it's just... I think they missed... It was a miscasting. I think it was the wrong choice. I really do. I think it was just a wrong choice. It was a bad call in terms of casting. Same with the little boy in Phantom Menace. And no, I mean, it's sad that in real life people would purposely go to hurt him. I mean, I would just go, that kid in the Phantom Menace, yes, I'm sorry, I thought he sucked. I did not think he did a good job, even as a kid actor. There are other kid actors that have done a good job, whether it be Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone, whether it be Corey Haim and Stephen King's Silver Bullet, whether it be Fool in The People Under the Stairs, whether it be a number of other films. Short Round, Indiana Jones Temple of Doom. There's been a lot of, The Goonies, Sean Astin, Corey Feldman. But does that mean the kid deserved a lot of stuff in real life to happen to him? No. That's such that happened. To me, I just go as far as I didn't care for his performance in The Phantom Menace. I didn't think he was good. I think it was miscasting. Even in The Phantom Menace, like the best part of The Phantom Menace, again, I could watch it, but of that DVD is the documentary. The Phantom Menace has a documentary on the making of the film, which to me is fascinating. And I wish they did more of that type of stuff, because it goes from conception to auditioning actors to the making of the film, troubles in making the film with storms, all this stuff happening, and they make it in a consistent manner that makes it entertaining, as in it's never boring. And they did a good job with it. And even if you're not into the film, it's a fascinating watch. I think it's like an hour or so long. And the reason I bring that up is they go through the casting of the kid. And there's one kid that to me seemed better. He seemed more natural. He seemed like he could handle the dialogue better. And they said no. Instead, they cast a kid who, even though the audition was screwing up some lines of dialogue. Well, this one seems a bit more well rehearsed, and but this one, I don't know how the hell they explain it. Pretty much they said he was rough around the edges, so they hired him because he was rough around the edges. That's pretty much what they said. I'm like, so all you did was kind of condemn this kid because of your own stupidity. That's why, as harsh as it is, it's like, you gotta, especially for a child, the world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. And yeah, for me, I'd be like, I didn't care for it. There are people that take it too far, and you can't stop them because that's the genie out of the bottle. Except with the internet and anything else. If you hear that, that's my neighbor's roosters. I guess they're complaining about the movie too. I mean, it's not the worst movie ever. It's far from the worst movie ever. It's just, again, this is a movie that I think people would like to hit the fast forward button. And there's Jimmy Smits as Bail Organa, who's the father. He's the guy who will raise Leia by Revenge of the Sith. Like, they give Leia to him, they give Luke to the Owen and Beru. And Jimmy Smits, I mean, he's a good actor. Maybe that's why my neighbor's rooster is crowing, because he's a fan of Jimmy Smits as well. Jimmy Smits is a good actor. He's sadly, other than a bit of NYPD Blue, he's been in a couple films. He was in, what was it? I think The Believers back in the day, and Stephen King's The Tommyknockers. He was in Bless the Child as a cop. But just, I don't know, hasn't been in the... Like, he's been in films, but nothing that really has got a lot of mainstream appeal. Probably again NYPD Blue and such. And yeah, we have Christopher Lee. Christopher Lee as Count Dooku. I mean, Christopher Lee, what more can be said about this guy? Hammer films like Dracula. Him and Peter Cushing were the stars of Hammer horror. He was a James Bond villain in The Man with the Golden Gun. And he was in The Howling 2, which I know he apologized to Joe Dante for being in when he was in Gremlins 2. But I hate my neighbor's roosters, man. I just want to go out and just make some church's chicken out of them. I know that. Just chicken. Although I will say that does make me now hungry for chicken. I will say. Makes me hungry for it now, damn it. So I don't have any here. Definitely have to go out and get some. So there you go. At least some, maybe accomplish something. And what's funny is that Christopher Lee is telling the truth here about Darth Sidious, and the Viceroy was in league with Darth Sidious. He was betrayed 10 years ago by the Dark Lord. Like, Christopher Lee is telling the truth. And in a way, is Christopher Lee the bad guy here? I mean, you think about it. Is Christopher Lee the bad guy because it seems like he's against Darth Sidious. And if he trusted and listened to Christopher Lee, maybe they would have, things would have changed. So you watch this, like, is Christopher Lee really a bad guy? Because he's telling the truth, and he's right. That's the thing, by the end, Christopher Lee was right. the Senate were influenced by Darth Sidious. And there's Jar Jar Binks fucked everybody up. I wonder if that was done on purpose. Like, a lot of people don't like Jar Jar Binks, so let's give him a complete fuck up where he's the reason. Jar Jar Binks is one of the reasons why the Clone Wars happened, and Jar Jar Binks helped bring the destruction of everything. Because he's like, if he kept his trap shut, but he didn't, and now Palpatine, a grand army for the Republic, which is the clones, and then having so many clones, fucked everything up. I will say, when you watch these prequels, it does make these characters look like dumbasses, because, like Yoda and even Obi-Wan, the fact that all this was under their nose. This whole thing was under their nose, and they just got trolled. The ultimate troll, the ultimate... never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down. To hurt you. Rickrolled. The ultimate fucking Rickrolled. Never gonna say goodbye. Like, Emperor Palpatine, that's really what he did. He did the ultimate Rickroll. Just to hurt you. Is that where we gotta have C-3PO and R2-D2? So, did they also wipe out R2-D2's memory? So he doesn't remember any of this? I guess so. But it's like, well, we gotta have them in here somehow. And that's where R2-D2 has, like, jets. I'm like, where the hell did he get jets, and how come we never see him again? And the new... And, I mean, and... what would be the sequels to this? A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. Where the hell did that come from? But again, it's one of those things that, oh, we're going to do something that we could not do in the past because of technology, but then it kind of screws up your storyline where, time-wise, it takes place before. That's like, making a prequel to Alien, like Prometheus, but they have technology that looks better than Alien. It just defeats the purpose. It just makes it seem fucking weird. Like Alien and Aliens, because of their time, they have computers a certain way, technology is a certain way, that's all they can do. But then you make like Prometheus and Alien Covenant, that takes place before, but yet the ships are so much more advanced, and you got holograms and all this stuff, and it just... Again, you're making prequels, but yet the technology seems much more advanced than you would see in those three movies. I keep doing that. This is what I'm looking at. There we go. This. But I keep going over there as we have this action scene happen. There's a New Hope. Empire Strikes Back here. And Return of the Jedi, which, funny enough, I was born the same day this came out, May 25th, 1983. Return of the Jedi. So I am a Return of the Jedi baby. Funny enough. Yeah, the same day Return of the Jedi came out, I was born. So again, I find that kind of funny. Okay. But yeah, you have this whole scene here, which, I don't know, I was indifferent on. Maybe because of all the CG in this, and it's like, if you want to talk about CGI orgasm, you definitely get in this whole sequence. Yeah, that's definitely CG that did not hold up the best. As we go, well, where the hell did he get this jetpack stuff? It's a cool addition for R2-D2, but it's like, well, wait a minute, how come that never showed up in the films afterward? I guess you would assume that they just got taken off and decommissioned, and so maybe it's not so much confusing, but it's like, oh, okay, I guess that's why. And yeah, I apologize for background noise. The neighbors make a lot of noise. That's why it's kind of hard to get time. Usually I try to do this late at night where they're away or sleeping so that you don't have a lot of background noise, but yeah. It's a pretty lengthy movie, so best I can. We have this stuff here. Oh yeah, I was going to say. And it was interesting to see Jedi in their prime to be able to do like all these physical prowess filled things where battles, and I mean it was cool to see again Jedi battles that we haven't seen before, because you have characters in their prime with years and years of experience be able to go full force and not hold back. So it's not like a guy who's learning a little bit and only had a bit of training from Yoda, like Luke Skywalker. And again, that's also the limitations of what you could do back in the day. So, but would I say I really cared about this sequence? Was really invested? Not really. Not really. Again, it's I get the concept, I get the idea. It just I was indifferent. I was really kind of indifferent, and this is when again Ewan McGregor by himself investigating like the Camino, that area, the environment was interesting to me. This stuff, I don't know, just because it's all just one giant video game, there's not really a sense of danger to me. There's not a sense of suspense or anything of the sort. And also because I don't care about Hayden Christensen, I'm not even invested in even that bit. Is that I don't care about Hayden, I don't care about Anakin, and I don't care about what's going on. Here we have Wasp City. And that's where you don't get like this giant fucking CG monster thing that they're riding on with chains and they're going around, and until the Jedi finally come in. And it's like, okay, we got like 50 Jedi, which is interesting to see because we had not seen that before. But okay, do you go through a 2.5 hour movie to do that? And also the kind of funny thing about, not funny, aggravating, is it seems like George Lucas, his whole stature, his status, his thought process on Star Wars was it was Anakin Skywalker's story. Here you see the fall, and then him as a bad guy, but then it's him with the help of his son, Luke. Anakin is told to bring balance to the Force, to finally bring balance to the Force. That was his fate, to bring balance to the Force. But then, the way that came about was with the help of his son, Luke Skywalker, and then defeat the Emperor, and Darth Vader overcomes his darkness, evil, to throw the Emperor down, and finally I guess exorcise his demons, and Luke Skywalker is all that's left. And that didn't matter because the Emperor came back, whether his clone or whatever the fuck it is. I don't care. It's the Emperor, it's his clone, it's his butt buddy, it's his father, it's his cousin named Eddie. I don't give a fuck. It was desperate measures because they had no fucking plan. They didn't know what the fuck they were doing, and they just said, fuck it, we just do whatever we feel like. Sorry. Alright. And so I had to answer a text. And yes, I'm not drinking Mellow Yellow today. I'm drinking a bit of Code Red, which I do like Mountain Dew Code Red. Mellow Yellow is still my favorite, but if I had to choose a second one, it'd be Code Red, because I like the cherry. I do think cherry works well with the Mountain Dew punch. Because I'm not a big Mountain... I don't know. Who gives a shit? Talking about Star Wars, but I don't know, just... Because I don't care about this scene. I just don't care about Anakin. Like, these... This is where the CGI doesn't hold up well. Like, the stuff in the spaceships and... Like, the Camino aliens look cool. Obviously, those aliens by Christopher Lee are practical. But, like, these monsters here, they look lame. And they don't hold up the best. I say this is probably where the weaker CGI is. I mean, it's not the worst CG ever. Not by far. Not by far. I'm just saying... I don't know if it's like the designs of some of these creatures look a bit goofy. Like this creature that Padme kit just looks a bit goofy. But, I mean... Like, his face looks like a goober. He's got like a giant rat tail. Because you have three creatures, so that each one has their moment to shine. There you go, smack him in the face. Yeah, because Anakin's gonna ride on this, yeah, that's right. I could see why these actors would say yes to get in the role. I mean, it's Star Wars. I mean, people are not going to say no to Star Wars. because you're getting the opportunity to be part of a franchise that many people know, and at one point was beloved. I don't know if it's as beloved nowadays as it was back then, but at one point was beloved. And by this point, honestly, I mean, even the Phantom Menace, there's some people that didn't like it, but it wasn't as negatively received. Well, I guess if you look at some internet chat rooms. But I'm just being like the mainstream public, it seemed like they liked it. And then that kind of fell, like I said, years later. But also, yeah, a lot of talk online about. It was probably like talk online about how bad the prequels were. It wasn't really the mainstream. It was online, internet, like places like Ain't Cool News. Which, I mean, God, probably people nowadays probably don't know what the hell that is. As Sam Jackson comes in here, but Harry Knowles, Ain't Cool News. This was a website that was get strips and info and news before anybody else. And that was a website everyone would go to. What's the new news and all the strip leak and nowadays that's become a complete shell of its former self because now all websites are looking into news and scoops and gossip and whether it be Stream Rant, whether it be Cinema Blend, like every website does it. So Ain't Cool News is now it's still up. It's still a website that is there, but that and then Harry Knowles was accused of harassing women, whether that happened or not. But so especially after that, and then some writers left. Like there was a writer named Quint, and there was another one called I forgot his name. Like they left, and that was kind of a death knell for that website. Again, that website still exists, but no one goes to Air Cool News anymore. No one does. They still put stuff up, and I don't know how they exist still. But because again, you never hear that website brought up. But that used to be like the biggest website around for a little while. And I'm talking about that as all this stuff is happening with all the Jedi. And for an audience, it was cool to see like all these Jedi around, and they're doing all their thing here. Sam Jackson gets to do stuff. Obi-Wan, like they're all get to block and take care of these droids, and that's why they're so ineffective. Because pretty much Darth Sidious was working with the Viceroy and realized these droids suck. Like the Phantom Menace era, they realized these droids suck ass. Like Emperor Palpatine. We need something. We need another army. Thus, behind the scenes, clone army. And there you go. Again, Sam Jackson. I guess really the movie he finally gets to do something. And Sam Jackson is the one that gets to deal with Jango Fett. But he does take this thing down. Don't fuck with Samus purple laser. Look, Mace Windu just took him out like nothing. Mace Windu, I mean, one of the only roles where Sam Johnson does not say motherfucker. I'm gonna shove this motherfucking saber up your motherfucking ass. My name is Zeus, father of, not a follow up. My name's not De Jesus, it's Zeus. Father of Apollo, I will shove a lightsaber up your ass, Zeus. I'm tired of these motherfucking droids on my motherfucking planes. But Sam Jackson, I mean, I joke, but he's in a lot of movies. Like, I mean, he's with Marvel, Avengers, Star Wars, Jurassic Park. He was in a Tarzan movie. He was in a King Kong movie. I'm surprised he's not in a Star Trek movie. At least not yet. But I did Jurassic Park, Star Wars, King Kong, Tarzan. He was a snake movie, Snakes on a Plane, a shark movie, Deep Blue Sea. Of course, action movies like The Hitman's Bodyguard. Dramas. He was in a Die Hard movie, Die Hard with a Vengeance. He worked with Tarantino, Pulp Fiction. He worked with Spike Lee. And a lot more. That's like the worst line in the movie where C-3PO goes, "This is such a drag." As his head's being dragged. It's like, come on now. But I guess that's the thing with the Jedi is that, like, if the Jedi, and I guess this in a way does showcase the limitations of the Jedi, because if the Jedi, if the Jedi can't handle these guys, I mean they can, but just the full number of people, how they don't handle the stormtroopers, where there's tenfold. I mean, we consider Count Dooku a bad guy because of these actions here. But again, what he was saying before with Obi-Wan, he wasn't lying. And then this is where you get the stormtroopers and how they're much more efficient in battle. Which again is weird in retrospect that you have Yoda controlling stormtroopers. And sort of the being part of the, I don't want to say part of the problem, but the ploy falling into their hands and being played like a deck of cards. And these stormtroopers actually hit stuff. They don't miss. Well, that stormtrooper got hit, but we need to get the fuck out of here. God, there's still like 25 minutes left in the movie, man. It's a long movie. Almost 2.5 hours long. I mean, really, this film is to do two things. Create the clone army. Show the love story between Anakin and Padme. That's really its two primary functions. And did it need 2.5 hours to do that? I don't know. I don't know about that, but it is what it is. I mean, you see all this digital work. Yes, I mean, I'm the type of guy that is more a fan of model work. But you know what? At the end of the day, you can have good model work. You can have good practical effects and makeup. But if you take such a fucking dump with your story and characters, it's not going to matter. And Disney Star Wars proved that. The movies, they proved that. J.J. Abrams, I got the effects and I got this, but it's sadly, he didn't have a thing called talent. And J.J. Abrams doesn't have talent. He's an overrated... There's a lot of overrated fucking hacks in Hollywood. That's your opinion. Yeah, of course it's my opinion. Who else's opinion I'm going to say? Your opinion? Why am I going to say your opinion? I'm not you. And you're not me. We're all free to think whatever we want to think. That's why a lot of Hollywood is bullshit nowadays. It's sad when I yearn for the days of films from 2002 or 2001 or 2000 or 2003 compared to the shit today. Overrated Marvel films, and I like some of the Marvel films, but a lot of the late ones have been overrated. Whether it be the fucking past their expiration date like Fast and Furious 9, whether it be bullshit sequels like Matrix 4 and Disney Star Wars movies, it just never ends. Never ends. And, you know, I see this big battle and I just feel empty. Because, like, okay, you got the stormtroopers, you got the droids. Something like Count Dooku says this, but then his master is Darth Sidious, so of course those are the Death Star plans. So we have, there you go, there's Death Star. Which, of course, I mean, I guess it would take a long fucking time to build that thing, so that's why after Revenge of the Sith, it's like, I don't know, is it 20 years later? Something like that? I don't remember. 15, 20. Yeah, that's probably about how long it would take to build something that fucking, you know, a space station the size of a planet. It's not going to take a week. And then you have to build in secrecy. It is a bit funny later on when you have Christopher Lee, may he rest in peace, but you know, he's fairly old by this point. And then when he's getting this big fight scene, jumping around, and then Yoda, which you would think Yoda's so powerful he doesn't need to jump around, but then he jumps around like a frog, and I don't know. But this is a big spectacle, you know, of the Clone Wars that people, which then, you know, that became really the Clone Wars is what would happen with that cartoon show, the actual Clone Wars. Like, these are clones fighting, but the actual, well, no, I mean, Luke Skywalker did say, "Did you fight with my father in the Clone Wars?" I guess this would be the Clone Wars. Hence the title, Attack of the Clones. And then, well, that's what the Clone Wars were about. It was Anakin, kind of the time between this movie and the third film, which I don't know how many years is between this and Revenge of the Sith. Let me look that up. The time between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. 3 years. From Phantom Menace to Attack of the Clones, 10 years. From Attack of the Clones to Revenge of the Sith, 3 years. And then Revenge of the Sith to A New Hope, 19 years. At least that's what it says here. 3 years. So the Clone Wars for 3 years. There you go. Okay. Okay, just wanted to check that. And then when you talk it out, it's so much easier than having to type it out. But yeah, this is definitely a movie that is made for the fast forward button. Just again, it's just like, it's like a lot of movies nowadays. So many movies just pad out their running time, and I go, you know what? I get it that you think everything you did is majestic, but not everything needs to be in there, and some of the stuff could be cut out. Doesn't need to be in there, man. Like, crying out loud. Let's see, we got Obi-Wan and Count Dooku, and Obi-Wan getting his ass kicked. Yeah, this is weird. You have Christopher Lee obviously not going to be able to move like this. I think at points they had to like CG his face onto an actor, something like that. And bum 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 bum. You know, it's a lightsaber that, I mean, it's definitely not as, just not as interesting to me as the Darth Maul one. Nothing against Christopher Lee, it's just, it's a fight that has no ending because you have to save Christopher Lee for the next one. Because he loses here, loses his hand, just like Luke lost his hand. But then in Revenge of the Sith, boom, takes out Count Dooku. And the Emperor sees just the potential of Anakin and turns to the dark side. I guess in a way this is kind of an interesting technique to just have it bathed in the lightsaber light. But again, kind of like at the end of Return of the Jedi, only definitely a bit more into its choreography. And of course, this is to get this scene, which I do remember this was a crowd pleaser in the theater. Because you never thought you would see Yoda as a, lightsaber guy. But it was cool to see Yoda get his time to shine. I know people are like, oh, he wouldn't do this, do that. But at the same time, he wasn't always just this old. I don't know if you need Yoda to do this, like he's Bruce Lee, but I think people they enjoy the character. It was nice to see him at least get to do something. Have a little bit of time to shine. So, despite it looking a little bit goofy in today's standards, again, just the idea was cool to see. Hayden! Again, you never would have thought you'd see Yoda with a lightsaber, but I mean, it was cool for what it was, and I thought it was neat. And sometimes, again, the audience were pleased. The crowd was going wild and like, oh my god, and yeah. Again, it's funny how times change. Where now people go, oh, this is silly, as in shitty. I don't think it's shitty. Again, it was a crowd pleaser, and that was done for a reason, and I get why George Lucas did that. And people, there were a lot of people that wanted to see it, and they got what they wanted. And again, for me, liking the Yoda character, that was cool to see as well. And again, if you didn't have the stigma, well, I don't want to say stigma, but you have to have these three films afterward, these films, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back. Well, imagine if there was none of that. Imagine there was no Return of the Jedi. Imagine there was no Star Wars A New Hope. Imagine if it was just these movies. Then at the end, you could have Yoda fight the Emperor and kick his ass and defeat him. You could have Obi-Wan fight Anakin and defeat him. And then maybe it wasn't his life that brought balance to the Force. It was his death that brought balance to the Force. He was involved, just not in the way Qui-Gon Jinn. It wasn't his life. It was his death. It was the Emperor's in secret. Anakin brought him out of hiding for potential. So I think then you would make him evil at the end of this one. And the third one, you see Anakin's a badass, kicking ass. But I don't know, it would be deemed a different way if you didn't have to follow those original three movies. But I mean, that is what it is. And we're getting to the final bits of the film. Because I remember, I mean, there's what, 10 minutes left? But then, remember, these don't have long credits, so there's a lot of people involved with this stuff. A lot of people. I mean, Revenge of the Sith and that DVD, I'm sure the Blu-ray, that documentary about how long it took to make that one fight sequence and all the stuff that went into it. Whether it be the effects guys, the choreography, everything in between. So again, it's weird, like, it's Christopher Lee, this proves that, yes, he is a bad guy. But again, like, what he was saying to Ewan McGregor was true. So it makes me wonder, like, if Obi-Wan said yes. It's like, yes, I could join with you, and this is who the guy is, and take him down, and... And see, Yoda is wrong. That's the thing, is that Yoda is wrong. Like, Obi-Wan mentions that there's something controlling the Senate, that Count Dooku said this, and Yoda's like, no, 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 he's full of shit. No, 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 he's wrong, he's wrong. I'm like, Yoda was wrong. Yoda was wrong the whole time. Yoda fucked up. Begun the Clone War has. And there's the clone army. And I guess again, 3 years will go by between this and Revenge of the Sith, timeline-wise. And that right there shows just how many of these motherfuckers there are, and that's how they're able to take over even, Bye-bye Jedi, and all that jazz. It was a big master plan from this senator who now has the power, thanks to Jar Jar Binks. Open his big fucking mouth. And none of these people knew what was coming. That Rickrolled. The ultimate Rickrolled. Meanwhile, these two are in love with each other and they get married. And that is that. That will be going into the third film, Revenge of the Sith. Again, that's the thing with these prequels, that you know where it's going. And you had to set that up because in Return of the Jedi, you saw Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker looks at his hand, and that's why he's like, I don't want to be that guy. No, I won't do this. I'm a Jedi, like my father before me. So you had to set that up, so that's why they cut the hand off. Because again, that was in Return of the Jedi. And they both had a choice. Luke Skywalker could have killed Darth Vader and he'd be in the same boat as Anakin, but he didn't. Even though he had a fear of his sister dying, just like he had a fear of Padme dying, but Luke made the choice, went the opposite way, and thus came out for the better until the Disney Star Wars films, where it's like, that didn't matter. Just the bad guys come back 10 times bigger, 10 times in more force, 10 Death Star, 10 times bigger. It didn't matter. Nothing fucking mattered in these movies. Because you looked at the Disney Star Wars, none of it mattered. It didn't fucking matter. Ah, Jesus. With that said, thanks for watching, guys. Take care. As we have the end credits here. Thanks for watching. Take care. And thank you. Bye-bye.